Matt Gomez here from Macromedia, and this is part of our series on e-commerce architectures and technology platforms. So today we're going to talk about something that might sound a little bit complicated, but don't worry, we'll break it down and make it easy to understand. So today's subject is monolithic architecture and how it affects e-commerce. So let's start with the basics. Monolithic means everything is all together and not separated. The way I'd explain this to my children would be that if you had all your toys in one big toy box, you couldn't take out just one toy without taking all of them out. It's kind of how a monolithic e-commerce system works. All the different parts of the system, the shopping cart, the product catalog, the checkout process, they're all in one big bundle. Now, you might be thinking, well, that doesn't sound so bad. But here's the thing. It actually can be quite a big problem. When everything's all together, it can make it hard for a company to grow and change. Think about it like this, with the toy box analogy. If you want to add a new toy to your toy box, well, you can't just put it in. You have to take everything out, add the toy, and put the whole thing back in again. And that can take a lot of time and effort, right? The same thing applies to monolithic e-commerce systems. If a company wants to make changes or add new features, they have to take everything apart and then put it back together. This can be pretty expensive, time consuming, and it can make it harder for a company to keep up with their competition. Also, it can lead to siloed systems where the data is not shared or used automatically between different departments, and it can lead to a fairly disconnected working environment. So what you might be wondering then is why would a company, use a monolithic architecture in the first place then if it's so bad? Well, it's really not so bad. Some of the reasons are that it is much simpler and easier to understand. It's typically faster to develop, cheaper too usually, and that it might be a good fit usually for small, simple businesses with fairly uncomplex e-commerce needs. However, as a company grows and becomes more complex, it might be more beneficial to move away from monolithic architecture to allow for more scalability, flexibility, and integrations. So some of the systems that you might have heard of that are or were typically monolithic in nature are like Shopify and BigCommerce. But it is worth noting that most of these monolithic e-commerce platforms have been evolving and continue to microservices architecture and have been providing more flexibility and scalability options to their customers. It's also important to note that the architecture of an e-commerce platform is not the only aspect to consider when choosing a platform. Other factors, obviously, are things like pricing, the features, and the integrations with other systems. All of those things need to be taken into account. So, in conclusion, while monolithic architecture might seem simple, it can actually cause a lot of problems when it comes to e-commerce. It's important to consider all the factors and options when choosing the right platform for your business. And that's what we're here to do, is to discuss some of these statements, some of these technology stacks, some of these architecture pieces, and start a discussion. So Matt Gomez, Acromedia, feel free to reach out if you want to discuss anything to do with monolithic architecture, microservices, decoupled architectures, or just e-commerce in general. Thanks a lot.